Hey friends, welcome back to Bible Fun with the Duns. Today we read Mark chapter 13, and you can see Mark starting to slow down in his storytelling. He's slowing down, and Jesus is getting even more intentional. He's been intentional with his every word and his every action, but he's getting even more intentional because we have the luxury of knowing the rest of the story. He knows his time is coming to an end, his time on earth. And so he wants to leave them with the most important information that they're going to need. As you read chapter 13, it's very apocalyptic. It's very end times information. And it's applicable to the disciples and to the people of this time, but it is still applicable to us because we are still waiting for his return. What we see here, we start with the destruction of the temple. They're leaving, walking out of the temple, and the disciples are talking about how wonderful the building is, and Jesus foretells that the temple will be destroyed. And maybe that's just a reminder for them to not cling to the earthly things. Do not cling to the things of this earth. And if you're like me, the longer you are on this earth, the longer you walk through the world, the more it lets us down, the more we realize it's not all it's cracked up to be. It is not where it is at, as my kids would say. And it makes me homesick for the place for which I've been created. And so Jesus continues to teach them. He goes off on the Mount of Olives, and he's with his best friends, Peter, James, and John, and Andrew joins the gang at this moment. And it makes me think about what Jack said the other day. What if he's closer to those guys than the rest of the apostles or anyone else because they're seeking him more? What if they're the ones putting themselves in his presence constantly? And so that's interesting to think about now that Andrew's made it on the scene with the three best friends. But Jesus has given them such good advice, and he's also given us such good advice. He's like, hey, these are going to be signs of the ends of the age. Lots of people are going to come in my name saying that I'm the Messiah, and they're going to try to lead people astray. He said, we're going to come to a point where people are going to persecute you for your beliefs. We're going to come to a point where you will be beaten in synagogues just for simply sharing who Jesus is. And that does happen to them. There's going to come a point where you're going to see brother hand over brother, father give over child, children rising up against parents. And as I read through this list of signs of the times, everything gets checked off the list. Like, these signs are being fulfilled constantly. He said, beware, because you're going to be hated for my name. Jesus never minces words. He never pretends that following him is going to be the luxurious journey. He said, you're actually choosing the hard road, but it's so worth it. And so what my book says, that Jesus is saying, he's saying, be careful. There are a lot of people who want to trick you. Be on your guard, because people are going to make you their enemies simply for sharing the truth, telling them what God says. And he said, but the main thing is that his good news be taken everywhere to everyone. This is God's desire for all to know and all to come into relationship with him. Of course, not all will, but it's not for lack of God's pursuit of them. It's free will. It's their own choice. He also says, hey, when they put you on trial, when you're being persecuted, when people are putting you on trial for testifying to who I am, don't even be worried about what you're going to say. He says, God, the Spirit is going to give you the exact words at just the right time. And I don't know about you, but even just in sharing Jesus, even in having godly conversations with people, I have experienced times where absolutely the Holy Spirit gave me the exact words to say. He says, when all of this happens, when brother betrays brother, when father betrays child, children rise up against their parents, he said, the ones who keep on going, the ones who keep clinging to him, they are forever safe with him. It says all of Jesus's disciples are going to suffer and die for their faith in Jesus. And that to me is just proof right there. They are witnesses to what has happened. And it's a message worth them giving their entire lives for. Then Jesus talks about the abomination of desolation, and the best description is in this remarkable book. But it's this time, it's told of in the prophecy of Daniel, the end time prophecy, that the Antichrist will reign. And what the children's book says is the abomination of desolation is where everything evil is called good. It's so messed up. A terrible king is going to set up the abomination of desolation in the temple where God alone should be worshipped. But instead, this terrible king is going to say that he should be worshipped. Jesus warned his listeners that one day the very opposite of God would claim to be God and demand worship. This is the grossest, most disgusting thing that could happen, and those days will be terrible. However, they're not going to go on forever. Some people get nervous. Some people get scared. Some people are fearful to even talk about these end times. I admit, I don't know what's going to happen. I admit sometimes the unknown, the fear of the unknown can get a grip. But may we never forget who already has the victory. It says, this is not going to go on forever. For the sake of his children, God said that the horribleness can only continue for a specific amount of time. Even during that time, God is sovereign. He is in complete control, no matter who is pretending to be in charge. But during that time, Jesus warns us, if anyone says, look, there's the Messiah, don't believe them. There will be so many false messiahs and so many false prophets who are going to do whatever it takes to try to trick us. He says, be on your guard. He said, I'm caring for you by telling you ahead of time what happens. So Jesus is getting closer to the end of his time on earth. These are the most important things he wants to leave his people with. He doesn't have to tell them what's going to happen in the future, but he wants us to be prepared. And then the reminder, but then the Son of Man is going to come on the clouds. Who thinks of Days of Elijah? Who thinks of the song, he's coming on the clouds, kings and kingdom will bow down. You know what I'm talking about. But the Son of Man is going to come on the clouds with great power and glory. He will send out the angels to gather those who follow him no matter where they are. This is the best news in the world. Jesus is coming back. And that's the thing. Whatever happens with the end times, whether you're premillennialist or postmillennialist, whatever you think, whether you think we're going to be here during that hard time or whether we're going to be with Jesus, no matter what, even if we're here in the hard time, Jesus is with us. He never leaves us. We're never alone in any of this. And I guess my biggest takeaway is repeated all throughout the chapter. He tells them to be awake, be alert, stay awake. I underlined it. Be on your guard. Watch out for people who are going to lie to you and tell you that they're the Messiah. And he's telling these people that. And I just can't help but think, like, as he tells them that, they think it's about to happen. Well, 2,000 something years later, it hasn't happened yet. Well, I can guarantee you we're a lot closer to it happening. I truly believe that Jesus' return will be in my lifetime. And Remarkable ends its recap of Mark chapter 13 with this. Know that these words are in the Bible to give us courage. It's not meant to make us fearful. It's meant to remember to make us share his word, to make God known, make him famous, and make heaven so crowded, with the people that we love and the people who are around us every day. That is a soul, that is a life who needs to know him. These words are to give us courage. The world is full of hard things, especially for those who follow Jesus. But these are the reminders of the best news. Jesus is coming back. He will make everything new and wonderful. While we wait for him, we need to stay awake, tell others about him, and remember everything he said. So do not fall into fear. Do not be afraid of these words. Instead, how can you live for him today? How are you being awake? How are you staying alert? How are you watching out for wolves in sheep's clothing? And most of all, who are you sharing the gospel with? Who are you telling this good news so that they can spend eternity with God too? All right, friends, thanks for joining us for Mark 13. Just a few more chapters left. We'll see you next time. Bye.